Wealth gap in America is a huge problem and brings three major questions. Is it possible to close the wealth gap? How big is the wealth gap? And will a candidate such as Bernie Sanders make an impact? Will these suggestions even make it through the process? Well, some of the things that we do know is that the wealth gap in America is huge. The majority of the population is middle class. However, the wealthy hold the majority of the nation's wealth. They are able to keep most of their money by avoiding paying taxes. Because they hold so much of the nation's wealth, it allows the rich to get richer and the poor to get poorer. At times, people even live off 6 hours or less of sleep in between hours of work, with not even a fraction in comparison to how much the rich make.
In regards to what Sebe said about the rich are improving in wealth, the John Oliver YouTube video about the wealth gap talked about how the richest 10% is 10% richer than the poorest 10%. This means that the gap has been widening as well as increasing. Also talking about the wealth gap is President candidate Bernie Sanders, who says that he's attempting to shrink the big name banks such as JP Morgan and Chase Bank of America, as well as wanting to lower interest rates and make public colleges free. Now, in my opinion, I don't believe that this will help shorten it enough to a point where we can get to a level that it's comfortable for us. Also, I think that there was this article, The Man Stizos, which talked about how America is not easy to live off if you do not have a well-paying job. They think that they see it as how everyone does not have equal opportunities to succeed. And in some of the other articles that we found, the vast majority of income gains have gone to the people at the top 1%, as well as the system being very little in terms of progressive in terms of our economic gap shrinkage. For example, minimum wage job workers are treated extremely poorly with poor working conditions and cannot support proper lives for themselves, especially if they have children. This means that the minimum wage system that we have going on is not supporting the middle and lower classes. The middle class's wealth has not been increasing in terms of the gap between the rich and the poor. And it shows, and studies show that instead of the wealth gap getting smaller, it's getting larger progressively over time, which is why we don't believe that the wealth gap will close.